Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we're talking about the methods used to establish authoritarian states, propaganda. Now, just as a refresher, methods is an action committed either by a person or persons as a way of accomplishing a goal. Propaganda is information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Now, today's lecture is a very interesting one because today we're going to talk about an event. We're going to talk about an event and a place, and how this event and place, although they are not information, so to speak, the legends, the lore, and the stories that come out from these events are some of the major propaganda that enabled Mao to come to power. So it's going to be a little bit of an interesting video and lecture. We're going to be talking about events and places, but the main focus is what was the legacy of them and how that was used as propaganda to really solidify Mao. So those two examples are the Long March and Shaanxi and Yan'an. And these are the two events. And as you can see here with this propaganda poster, this is a propaganda poster focusing on the event we're talking about next, which is the Long March. So, what is the Long March? Well, the Long March took place in 1934 to 1935 at the height of nationalist violence against the Communist Party. In 1934, the CCP were on their last legs. They were about to be fully eliminated. They were about to be fully extinguished. And they were suffering greatly. And a large part of why they were suffering, one, was because the nationalists had an upper hand. And by 1934 and 1935, the nationalists had a new ally with them, the Nazi Party. And the other half of the reason why they weren't surviving the CCP was because the competition, as we talked about, between the 28 Bolsheviks and Mao grew and got larger and hit to the point where the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party was so divided about who should be leading what, and the competition between them was so severe that things were getting left on the wayside. Security, resources, supplies were just being left behind. So, in the middle of this near extinction, in the middle of this near leadership collapse, Mao makes a decision. He says, okay, if any communists, whether you are with the 28 Bolsheviks or you support me, if anybody wants to live to fight another day, if anyone wants to join us, I'm going to be leading an expedition. I'm going to be leading a transportation, a movement from the southern part of China all the way to the north, to the former capital of China. And there we will re-secure ourselves, we'll hide ourselves, and we can resupply. It's going to be the longest trek we've ever made as a group, but we're going to do that. So if you want to come with us and live, you're welcome. I don't care who you support. Now, Mao takes off on this long march, and he brings with him a good amount of the Communist Party, I would say about 70%. And some of the Bolsheviks go with him to see, okay, well, let's see how much he can actually do this. Other Bolsheviks and the remaining Communist Party go into a different direction. Well, Mao calls this the Long March, and it is known as the Long March, going from the southern part all the way up to the north. And along this trek, they are being attacked, harassed, killed, finding no food, finding places not to sleep, finding no housing or security. And through it all, because Mao said, "Follow me," everyone was listening to him who came with him. Everyone was like, all right, we'll do whatever you want, Mao. And so he was making the military calls. He was making the calls, when to uh, flee, when to retreat, when to stay put, when to fight. And because of that, over the span of 5 months, 5 to 6 months, Mao makes it all the way to the north. And he brings with him uh, about 80% of the people who joined him. He lost people along the way, sure, and a lot were injured and some were left behind. But he brings a majority of the people who signed up with him to the north at this place called Shaanxi and Yan'an. Well, because of his actions, because of the fact that people survived, because of the fact that they listened to him, and that he made almost every military call, every transport call on the way up, listening to people and taking their advice, this event made Mao a legendary hero. He was seen as being divine. Or not necessarily divine, because in communism you don't believe in religion, as we talked about. But he is seen as as if he is being guided, like he is on a destined journey, a hero. And the rumors and the stories that are told about how Mao saved people and how he made the right call, and it just seemed like no matter what, Mao was always right on how he was doing it. Essentially told anyone who was against Mao, or anyone who tried to stand up against Mao, to say like, yeah, but look what he could do. Look what he did. We wouldn't be here. The CCP wouldn't have survived without Mao. And because of this, that competition gave Mao a huge step up in terms of popularity, but also lore, like actual lore about whether he was this amazing, almost godlike figure. That's not going to come until later. And all of the stories that would be told about this is going to recruit people, because as he's moving up through the north, people are going to be saying, and rumors going to spread, so that halfway through his journey, he'll get to cities that already know he's coming. He'll get to places where the peasants are like, yes, come, no, I'll give you food, I'll give you this. So the more he gets north, the faster rumors spread, the more support he's getting along the way. And so as he's going through and up China, he is getting stronger and stronger, both as propaganda by getting people to join his side, both as supporters who may not have supported him in the past, but now they're like, hey, he's doing the right thing, or just this mythical tale of this man almost being impossible to kill as he's moving north. And their destination also makes him legendary, which is Shaanxi and Yan'an, because this is the final stop of the Long March. It is the former capital of the country. This is where the dynasty collapsed. And as Mao gets there, as you can see here on the left-hand side, this is a propaganda photo of those who joined Mao on his Long March. This is the Chinese Communist Party, and this over here in the distance, that is a symbol that represents Shaanxi and Yan'an. Shaanxi is the province, Yan'an is the city, just to make sure to clarify that for you. Well, when he makes it there, he is welcomed in open arms because of how far he traveled and how many people he saved and how he was able to support people along the way. And then when he makes it there, people are like, okay, Mao, you helped us militarily. Can you help us out in another way? And that's when he creates a kind of underground city, where in this underground city, he creates shelters, and he orders people to create shelters that build essentially classrooms, hospitals, sleeping quarters, cafeterias. He creates a half underground for shelter and security from the nationalists attacking the CCP. And then he also creates a safe haven for anyone to come in. which is where we get the first part of the peasant policy, which you're going to hear later, about persuasion that he did, where he would welcome peasants and then conduct some actions for the peasants that would make him seem just not only a man of the people, but almost the god of the people. Because he made it through impossible odds to get here. And now that he's here, he's building cities. He's building hospitals. And then the second part that made him legendary was he was the first person in Chinese history to say across the border, women are equal. Women should be seen and treated as equal. So if you are a woman and you want to help us, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a nurse or do you want to be a soldier? You want to help lead this company of men and women? Or do you want to run the hospital? Do you want to run the school classrooms? Do you want to help us in the farms? And because of this, Mao not only recruits everyone, men and women, but the more successful he is, the less the 28 Bolsheviks are. And so the propaganda that gets created and the rumors and the word of mouth that's being spread across because of the Long March in Yan'an turns Mao from a peasant librarian to a legendary hero to a hero worthy of his own myth, a hero worthy of his own stories, a hero that is almost divine like a god.